Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be talking about the upcoming warm-up that I talked about a couple days ago, but it's looking a little more potent at this point. I'm going to be talking about the potential for that to become a heat wave in the coming weeks. Now, before I get started with this video, though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. Now, for today's comment of the day, I want to know, what was your favorite president to learn about in history class? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Alright, now let's get into this video, and we're going to be taking a look at those temperature anomalies. And you can see things aren't looking warm right now, at least not for the central or eastern United States, as this is for this morning. Lots and lots of purples. That's our polar vortex that has come in, so we're talking about pretty much the opposite at this point. Also tomorrow, here we go for Tuesday, looking like pretty much the opposite of a heat wave. So you might be wondering, how in the world are we going to get a heat wave for very soon? And it's really going to be a huge switch. I will admit, it is going to be a giant flip up in the temperature anomalies, but we are about to see a ginormous change in the weather pattern. We see purples and pinks there all over the place. It's going to be extremely well below normal for Monday and Tuesday here during the month of May. Even for Wednesday, we're still talking about those blues, not quite as potent or widespread, but really we are still talking about the very, very far below normal temperatures. All right, now we're about to move on to where we're about to see that come to a change, and it's going to be very interesting to watch this go from complete polar vortex to heat wave over the next week or so. Alright, and here we go. We're at Thursday at about 2 p.m. and you can see, here we go. We're already seeing that change. Those yellows and light blues are indicating areas that are very close to normal there for a lot of the eastern United States. So this is the process of that temperature pattern flip happening already. We can see that along the eastern seaboard there through some portions of Pennsylvania, New York, and in through Michigan. We are still seeing a little bit of those deeper blues and maybe even purple, so it might be a colder afternoon there for a lot of those areas, but that's going to come to an end very, very shortly. As we move towards Friday morning, you can see a lot of the reds and oranges begin to make their way in, so we're going to start to see this complete flip up in the pattern. The southeast still trying to hold on to some of that cold, as well as the Midwest and some of the Great Plains, but it is all going to eventually submit to the warmer temperatures that are about to move in. Let's go ahead and take a look at Monday, very, very early morning, and you can see that, like I said before, the warm temperatures have completely dominated the pattern by this point. We're seeing the Midwest, the Southeast, pretty much everywhere is above normal, with the exception of some areas with very, very light blues there. So I see one for Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana, and then also one for Florida and Georgia there. Those are all going to eventually really come to an end, and we're going to really see the warm completely dominate the pattern, like I said before. All right, so we're about to move on, but we're going to see this become even more potent, and we're going to be seeing this go from maybe a warm-up to a complete heat wave, full-on heat wave. 90s could be pretty widespread for some regions. Now, I expect this warm-up to be very shocking because of the fact that we're going from like 20 degrees below normal temperatures to possibly 20 degrees above normal. That is a 40-degree difference. So, I mean, it's going to be a ginormous change, and I'm really excited for it, honestly. I'm ready for the summer-like pattern to head in, and that's exactly what's going to happen here in the later half of May. We're going to go from March to June, basically. That's what I'm going to call it, because it's going to go from feeling like wintertime, like it has in the past few days, and maybe even weeks for some people, to even feeling like summertime for most areas at this point. So you can see that by Tuesday, very, very early morning, we do have widespread reds, and even those pinkish colors showing up for some of the upper Midwest. Some of the areas that were holding on to the cold the most have now completely flipped. And that's where we're at, about 12 to 20 degrees above average Celsius, so even more above average in Fahrenheit if you were to look at it. And here we go, looking at by about Wednesday afternoon, you can see that we have those pinks completely taking over for the East Coast, the Mid-Atlantic, the Ohio Valley, and the Great Lakes. And that's going to be where we're well above normal temperature, so it's going to feel a lot like later June rather than later May. So we're going to go completely in the opposite direction, like I said before. Let's take a look at those actual temperatures. And this is why I call it a heat wave, because a heat wave is defined by multiple days of 90 degrees plus, and you can see widespread throughout the southeast, up through portions of Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey, Delaware, all the way back down through Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina. You can see 90 showing up for all of these regions. even 100 showing up for portions of Alabama and Florida. This isn't even the hottest day. This is actually one of the colder ones of that heat wave that I was talking about. So we're about to move on and take a look at some of those even hotter days that are coming up potentially. And that was by Wednesday, May 20th, by the way. So we are looking a little bit further in advance. But now we're looking at Thursday, May 21st. And you can see those purples and pinks get even lighter, indicating areas that are higher above normal. So let's look at those actual temperatures once again for Thursday. And you can see it gets even hotter for a lot of these regions. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, even DC, Maryland, Delaware, and New Jersey are all talking about 90s still. I'm even seeing 97, 98 there for Central Virginia. Very, very far above normal temperatures. I think that's a 96 near Washington, D.C. If this was to pan out this way, which I don't know if it will exactly pan out this way, it might be closer to upper 80s rather than higher 90s. That's just how it goes sometimes. But if it was to play out this way, it would be a very major heat wave for this time of year. Let's look at those temperature anomalies for Friday, May 22nd, and you can see it almost looks the same. But once again, let's take a look at those actual temperatures for that date, and you can see, again, mid-90s for Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, D.C., Maryland, Delaware, and New Jersey. This would be a very, very major heat wave, again, like I said, for this time of year, something that we usually see mostly in July, August, September timeframe rather than this early on. But this would be a nice break from the cold temperatures. And I mean, again, this is a huge difference from the 40s we've been seeing as lows and maybe even upper 50s, lower 60s as highs. Going all the way from that to upper 90s would be extremely crazy. I mean, a huge difference just for a couple weeks. And it's going to feel even hotter than it normally would just because of that fact that we've been dealing with such cold temperatures for a lot of these regions. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's going to be happening by Saturday, May 23rd then, and you can see the heat wave kind of breaks up by that point. So it's going to be 3 days in a row of conditions like that, which would make it officially a heat wave if that was to pan out that way. We get a lot closer to normal here as we move towards Saturday, according to this model. Let's go ahead and take it to Sunday as well, and maybe even see a bit of a cool down, a quick cool down that comes through the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. Rest assured, by the time we move back towards Wednesday, May 27th, which is the end of the run, we do see that warm-up return. So it looks like we're going to go all the way into June with this warm-up and heat wave. Well, heat wave some of the time, but mostly a warm-up for most of the time. From the 15th through the end of May, it looks like we're going to have a giant warm-up, which is going to bring us all the way into June, which is pretty much going to lock in the fact that we will not be dealing with any more cold temperatures for a lot of the more central and eastern United States, which is probably a lot of good news for some of you. Now we're about to move on and take a look at what the National Weather Service and the Climate Prediction Center has to say about these temperature anomalies, and we'll see what their opinion is on all of this. All right, and here's their 6 to 10 day outlook, and this is going to be for May 15th through May 19th, which again is the beginning portion of that warm-up. And you can see they're very confident that the southeast, the mid-Atlantic, and then down through the deep south as well is going to be dealing with some above normal temperatures there. And some of the oranges and yellows, they are quite confident that it most of the time will be as well. But that deeper orange shade is where they're a lot more confident that we will be dealing with some warmer than normal conditions, and this might even get us to the beginning of our heat wave, or actually at the day before our heat wave begins. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 18th through the 24th, which is actually going to bring us to where our heat wave begins until it ends, and we can see colder than normal conditions for the west, and then the central and eastern United States dealing with much more confidence in the warmer than normal conditions. They become very, very confident that we will be dealing with the above average temperatures here. This is a complete flip up in the pattern. Again, we started out the model runs looking at way warmer than normal conditions for the western United States, and then the central and eastern United States dealing with colder than normal conditions. And you can see by the time we're at the 18th through the 24th, it appears it will be the complete opposite of what the model was showing in the beginning. So it's going to be a very, very huge difference. This is what we call a classic negative, negative P&A pattern, where we see the very, very far below normal temperatures in the western United States, and then the central and eastern United States is dealing with much warmer than normal conditions. We've been dealing with a very, very potent positive PNA, of negative NAO and AO, which is really what you would want for a cold and snowy winter in the eastern United States. And those were not very, very, ideal until we got to about April and May. That's when they finally became good for cold and snow, and we did actually see some, but it was a little too late for anything major. All right, now for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, what was your favorite year you can remember? And I was hoping to get a comment similar to this one. This one just, it makes me so jealous. But Karen Brenner said, when I was a kid in 1969, playing all day in the freedom that kids don't have today, I could only imagine what it was like living or even, being a child in that time. My parents were just being born by that time, so not even my parents were children in 1969. But, it just seems like it was a much more positive time to be alive. I don't know. That's just how I feel. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.